If you've been part of the LPS community for a while, you'll most probably know about the high school drama genre, the most definitive version obviously being LPS Popular. And at first, Adorkable seems like just another cliché, but in using this premise, Adorkable subverts our expectations to then bring about more interesting and unseen ideas. Let's start with what I consider to be the core trope of this genre. The new girl at school serves as a character that can be naive to the ways of their new school as a way to pose questions through this character that we as the audience also have. It is a way of introducing the rules of this slightly over-dramatized universe. The new girl can also be previously homeschooled, adding to the reason of their naivete to this new setting. Arwen fits all of these criteria, and wears glasses, so extra points for that. And it seems like just another cliché until...
First year of middle school, I was diagnosed with social anxiety disorder.
I'd like to take this moment to say I really love the inclusion of mental disorders in this show. I myself have autism, which is not completely the same as social anxiety disorder, but I find myself relating a lot to the character Etta, who, like Arwen, also has social anxiety disorder, and also OCD. Etta doesn't like to eat in the cafeteria. I haven't set foot in one in 4 years. And I've always found the representation of myself lacking in realism and just plain existence in media. So having a show with 3 characters that experience mental disorders, one of them being the main character and not just being centered on the struggle of having a mental disorder is... really cool. In episode 4, we learn that Arwen has social anxiety disorder, and this is the reason she was previously homeschooled. This does subvert the trope in a way, as we don't previously know about this, and is unexpected, bringing something new to the trope. By subverting what we have seen countless times, it draws more attention to when this aspect differs. And because we aren't presented with this information until the end of episode 4, we are prevented from our first impression of Arwen being affected by a possible stigma, and are able to learn her character before her diagnosis. The usual makeover in trope includes the main character being encouraged to change the way she looks, going from
Geek to chic.
Suddenly becoming wildly attractive with everyone taking notice. Adorkable subverts this by reversing it, the popular lackey Revlon getting a makeover and joining the group of nerds. The trope changes from a girl's confidence being derived from her looks and newfound attention, to the first step in a character's journey to finally take pride in being herself. It's notable that this trope did happen a previous time off camera in the past when Revlon went from nerd to popular girl, but here we see the aftermath. It's not all it's cracked up to be. Sort of like skipping to the end of this trope where the girl learns to be herself. This also gives more depth to what would be a ditzy lackey to the popular girl, who then becomes a more involved and proactive character. We also learn about her history with DC, them presently having a complicated relationship. The journey that Revlon takes shows a transition in cliques that isn't usually obtainable for popular girls, and shows that we choose who we want to be.
Arwen looked really pretty in her dress tonight, didn't she?
This isn't actually a trope I've seen much of in LPS Tube, but it is a trope that I have seen in a fair share of high school movies and a lot of romances, so I think it's relevant. The friend zone trope is usually defined as the protagonist being unaware of their guy friend's crush on them. This can also include the protagonist being interested in some really hot guy. Check. Might get romantic feelings for a plastic toy. Wouldn't be the first time. King, anyone?
That cotton candy fur, that voice, those looks.
The trope will either conclude with the protagonist realizing that her friend was who they were meant to be with, or more silent pining. In Adorkable, Arwen is unaware that Marvel has a crush on her, but this is subverted when we see that Marvel can't accept that Arwen doesn't have feelings for him. To recap the events of his character progression, Marvel becomes interested in Arwen. He decides to go after her by telling a girl who's only known for a short amount of time about his horrible life as an orphan in a dark place where I was honestly scared for Arwen's vaginal safety. After that, he carries on like the discussion never happened. He then asks her to help him with his project for the science fair, which she replies with,
I want to support you in every way I can. That's what friends do after all, right?
And then after the science fair, he thanks her saying,
You're my best friend, Arwen.
He later asks her if she wants to hang out after school, but we learn that she told him
How we shouldn't hang out for a while. How she apologizes about this misunderstanding that she caused between she and I.
Then left. Then he and Arwen stopped talking for a while because Arwen has
ruined his life for not wanting to date him.
Then he finally approaches her at a party in a plot to dump down her, keeping in mind that everyone will look at her, which would be embarrassing and distressing for anyone, let alone someone with diagnosable social anxiety, and tells her that what she did was wrong. He says that she was sending signals. She keeps repeating she did not intend to. He says,
I liked you a lot.
David Slack put it best when he said, "Girls have their own minds and hearts, and they don't owe you a relationship just because you're attracted to them." Or, as the more eloquent Jenna Morassi put it,
"No one is obligated to like you just because they give you penis tingles, okay?"
This is the negative result of the friend zone in real life sometimes. Marvel goes from a sweet-looking nerd to someone who attempts revenge at his crush/best friend, apparently, because she led him on and didn't return his feelings. Going over the events, my opinion is Arwen did nothing to lead him on or insinuate anything beyond friendship. Well, I think she is in the wrong for treating him differently because of his situation, even though when he told her about his life he looked like he was trying to gain sympathy from her. That doesn't give him any entitlement to her feelings. Marvel represents a type of toxic masculinity that ignores the feelings that women may have, making the girl of their affection seem more like an object, a prize they deserve for being decent to them. And in the end, Marvel joins the ranks of the popular girls. His character arc is unexpected and written well, subtly happened over the course of a season. I may hate Marvel, I think you can tell, but I think he's a complex character that shows how a good friend can change and turn against you.
What do you do at parties?
Drama always happens at a party. Maybe your boyfriend cheated on you. Maybe your boyfriend broke up with you. Maybe your boyfriend... Okay, a lot of times it involves a relationship. But in the first out of the 2 parties that happened in Season 1, the focus isn't really on the drama, it's more on the anxiety of actually going to the party. Arwen shows physical signs of anxiety about going to the party, and his parents plead for her to go, and as soon as they get there...
Alright, we came, we saw, let's go.
I'm ready to go home.
Guys, we've been here for a minute. I don't know, guys. I think hiding in the bathroom until it's all over would be a great idea.
With media always portraying parties as the prime location for teen drama, it can be easy to forget that some people don't like parties, and some people find a lot of anxiety in going. When Arwen expresses she has some anxiety about going to the party, DC waves it off, saying,
Don't worry about it. It's just nerves. I don't really think that's how it works. Trust me, once you're there and showing everyone up, you'll forget all about your little anxiety thing.
An argument escalates, resulting in Arwen having a panic attack in the toilets. When the next party comes around, the guys don't feel like going again.
I don't know, DC. You know it's not my scene. I only went to one, and that was enough for me, forever. It was so stressful last time.
But they're encouraged to go. The group is kind of split up at this point, so DC has to convince Locke, and Revlon must convince Arwen and Etta. But they go about it in different ways. Revlon appeals to Arwen and Etta's possible desires for going.
I bet Marvel will be going. And Locke.
While DC uses her desires for going to pressure Locke to attend.
Locke, you're a good boyfriend. Why wouldn't you take me to a party?
Let's keep in mind that Locke has severe agoraphobia, which can cause a lot of anxiety when put in a situation like a party. Speaking of which...
It's kind of crowded. Are you kidding me? This is great! I guess parties just aren't my thing. I'm gonna go swimming. Coming? It looks pretty crowded in there. I think I'm gonna just wait out here. Really?
I think that this...
Your little anxiety thing.
...is the closest we get to DC acknowledging her friend's mental disorders. It seems like I'm kind of attacking DC. Well, that's because this is sort of a segue. We enter this series assuming the popular girls are the forces of antagonism for our main character. But the villain in this series is someone else, because an antagonist can be defined as the obstacle to the main character's goal. And what is Arwen's goal? What does she want? Or rather, who does she want? And who is stopping her from being with him? DC. DC just can't do anything right these days. And I don't care if it doesn't exist, I want the Snyder Cut. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. DC! When DC finds out that Marvel has a crush on Arwen, she says,
You can't seriously have a thing for Arwen. Do you know what's going to happen to us if we start falling behind? Do you not care about what happens to us at home? Because guess what? I do.
DC does not support Marvel for what could happen to them, what could happen to her. But when DC finds out that Locke may be taken to Arwen, she encourages Marvel to go after her. When his feelings fit her needs, she is all for him pursuing Arwen. And when Arwen cancels her plans with Locke, DC casually lets him know that.
I think she's actually meeting Marvel.
And then...
Well, Marvel had mentioned it, but I didn't really say anything about it. I just decided to drop by. I was in the neighborhood.
And these are obviously lies, carefully crafted to achieve her goal. A night with Sage. And the next day...
Wasn't this the same person that stood you up on Friday?
She then also implies that Arwen went to see Marvel for reasons of attraction.
It was an important thing. Yes, an important thing.
Through her manipulation, DC achieves her goal in Dayton Lock. DC manipulates everyone around her to achieve her needs. Yes, these characters do make their own choices that affect the outcome of the plot, but DC was the one who set the ball rolling to influence them. One of DC's other goals is to take down the popular girls, but the reason she wants to do so is so she can have control. DC lives in a home where she is beat up by the older kids. The popular girls may be a parallel to them, which DC is projecting her feelings onto. But another reason, what I would call her core motivation, is having control over everything. DC always has to have control, and this is the root of her manipulative behavior. DC is such an interesting character to me. She may be what I consider to be the antagonist, but we can understand her motivations. She comes from an awful background. The popular girls hate her, and she hates them. They took her best friend from her, someone she also had feelings for, but her friend betrayed her and left. And when she starts to make a move on the boy she likes, he becomes interested in the new girl that she invited into the group. All DC wants is for something to go her way. Maybe she does get carried away, wrongly manipulate her friends, but that's what makes her such a compelling character. We understand her motivations. Jezebel? She has no backstory. At all. Because she doesn't need it. She's not the villain. And neither is DC. DC is a character with a tough life and some wrong decisions, but she's not evil. She stands beside her friend. She realizes she treated her wrong. This?
I just wanted to say thank you.
That's an apology. And Revlon still sees some in her, and Locke may be slightly manipulated, but he's not dumb. He likes her, whether romantically or platonically. Before Arwen came, they were hanging out every weekend. So DC isn't an awful character. Is she perfect? No. Do I still think she's the antagonist? Yes. But she's the hero of her own story, and I think we can all empathize with her. DC is really cool. So what are my overall thoughts? I don't really have a single reason that I like this show. This is the first attempt at a video essay, and I feel like I should have more of a centered one thing that I should talk about. This is more somewhere between an essay and an analysis. I really like the show. I feel that it shows a more realistic depiction of high school, even if it does still adhere a little to tropes. But I feel the show can teach younger audiences some good lesson, and I really resonate with Etta. She is just like me. And well, oh, my dog, they kissed! What happened next? Oh, my dog! Anyway, I do have plans for another attempt at a video essay soon, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on this video. I'd really like for there to be more conversation about the shows in our community. There are so many talented creators here that should be talked about. And if you've seen my videos, you know I like to talk about stuff. So I think these essays will be good for me. I tend to ramble, so having a script is good. I'm not really good at endings, So, bye. Yeah, bye.